What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me as always is Mr. Brian Schultz. F1, Brian. I saw it, and I have to say, man, this was a movie that just felt good. You could predict the movie in terms of what was going to happen.
100%. Yeah.
And I was fine with that. Just wanted to know how they were going to do it. And would it make sense and all that other stuff that just sort of clicked. It just clicked, Brian. And I just have to say that Kosinski, man, visually, I was just immersed in that world and the different camera angles, man. Visually, this guy has an eye for making interesting scenes look even that much better. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we were having an interesting discussion about Joe Kosinski as a director yesterday over text, and I am of the mind that as a technician, he is in the top tier of guys working today. Now, is he one of the great overall directors yet? I would say no, because I think he only has the one kind of transcendent classic to his name in Top Gun Maverick. But I think just on pure aesthetics and his sort of skills with a camera, if you just take Tron Legacy for how it looks, if you take Oblivion for how it looks, if you take Maverick for how it looks, and if you take F1 for how it looks, that's as good as anyone is doing, I would say, in the last 15 years. And he's covering, deep sci-fi to gritty realism in a car. He is at the very least a guy who, if his name is on a movie, you know that if you go watch it, you will see something incredibly cool and meticulously put together. Now, will you see great characters? Will you see great script? Will you see great... That has been inconsistent. But I don't think you'll ever get closer to being in a Formula One car at 200 miles an hour than what he accomplished in this movie.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think they knew that the story wasn't going to be what sold it. So they kept it simple. They put it down the fairway. And what they focused on, hey, let's cast charismatic people to say formulaic lines, and then let's go racing. And that works really well.
Yeah, and Brad Pitt, that dude looks like the man all the time, He's just chilling. He's just keeping it quiet and just doing things that rub people the wrong way, but there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then people catch on like, oh, snap. That's dope, that he's able to have, without having to say much, do the things that he's thinking about so that people catch on later. And you're like, oh, okay. What did you think of Idris?
I liked him. The character, weirdly, the arc had a little less to it than I expected. It was formulaic in the sense of you have the hotshot, impetuous, talented kid who thinks he knows everything. He then suffers a trauma, and we will spoil it at this point. The movie's been out a little bit. He suffers a trauma in a crash and then has to work his way back. But it felt a little incomplete to me.
Uh-huh.
Like he's riveting when he's on screen.
Yeah.
Because he has energy and like he's really handsome and like, you see all that. But like it almost felt like with Pitt doing Pitt things, there almost wasn't enough room for him to do all the things that you would expect him to do. So I kind of was left with like, good job, but like wanted maybe a little bit more from the script itself to give him more like room to develop as a character. So I don't know, but and if you're sort of closet asking, did I see Black Panther in this? Probably not. That's still not my top choice. And it's still not after this movie, but he's going places. I hope I see him in the genre. I hope they persuade him to do other stuff in the genre. Cause he's definitely a charismatic guy.
When I was watching him, he definitely has a presence. and you're right. He didn't. To me, obviously, it was all about Brad Pitt, really, right? And he had this other guy that he's trying to. You were more interested in his journey rather than Idris. For Idris, you was just waiting. Hey, when you gonna tell everybody that you were the one that messed up? You know what I'm saying? I was waiting for that, and that moment didn't really hit the way I think it should have. But I certainly like the things that led up to that. You know, he witnessed his mom chewing Brad Pitt out, right? And there was just certain moments, and I like the fact that when he was sort of researching Sonny. And I guess, what is that saying? Put yourself in someone else, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. He was doing just that. Perhaps they saw what was happening with Brad Pitt and like, yo, this is working with just this, and just left his as is, and didn't really push for a better arc for him.
When you watch this character, to me, there were so many subplots to this that I was thinking about as like behind the scenes. So number one is the Damson Idris part is normally the lead, the lead, if you think about it, right? That's normally the hero part. The hero starts here, the hero falls down, the hero gets up. That's usually the number one on the call sheet. But he's number two on the call sheet very plainly in this movie. And that's part of why I think the arc is incomplete, because the number one on the call sheet is Pitt. Really, even though he's straining believability, I'll be honest, like the idea of he's 61 in real life. The idea of a late 50s driver in Formula One, for anyone who knows Formula One, is preposterous. Like Lewis Hamilton is considered old today for Formula One, and he's 40. So somebody who's 58 or 60, like, come on, that's ridiculous. But Pitt is in his bag doing all the things that makes Brad Pitt a movie star, right? That sort of effortless charisma. As you said, like you do less with more, or you do more with less, but like he just looks good from every angle. Like even at age 60, like that's the thing. Like, and I think at some point as a filmmaker, yeah, you kind of have to be like, look, he's what's selling the movie. We have to make sure we give him his shine. And therefore you can almost feel the roles like almost not totally at ease with each other, because you're like, well, I know the Idris part should be the lead, but like Pitt clearly is the star.
Yeah.
And then knowing that Lewis Hamilton was a producer on this movie and heavily involved by all accounts. I mean, presumably Damson Idris is effectively an avatar for Lewis Hamilton, right? To some degree. Mm-hmm. They don't really explore some of the things that Lewis has talked about in real life about his own journey to reach F1. And this movie goes out of its way to be apolitical in the sense of, even though Damson Idris is black, that is never mentioned as part of the journey, even though Lewis in any interview will tell you like it has been a lonely road and then some for him to be a 7-time world champion versus there's never been another champion of his persuasion. So that the movie, and keep in mind, this movie was done with the official branding and support of F1 itself. So they weren't going to let that type of stuff get into the movie.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching it, I'm like, I know the Idris character is supposed to be young Lewis to some extent. And I'm just trying to figure out like how much is Lewis infusing himself in here versus letting them Hollywood it up a little bit with kind of a cliche arc. I don't know, it was just stuff I was kind of thinking about as I was watching it. But all of it should not take away from people's takeaway, which is you're going to be really entertained. There's going to be flaws, and there's going to be things that you pick up on right away. And yes, you know where the movie is going, but man, is it executed well. And like I said, it's just better. Like when Brad Pitt's the one delivering the line, when Javier Bardem, we got to talk about Bardem, by the way, because he is finding this role in Hollywood that I think he's like the Robert Horry of Hollywood right now, as far as I'm concerned. We'll talk about this, but he is like turned up to 12 in this role as a supporting character, and everyone else is good, right? Like Kerry Condon's good, like Shea Wiggum's got a little part, he's good. Sarah Niles, who's Idris's mom, she's good. Like everyone is good. The pit crew people are good, and then you have, to their credit, the real F1 people. So they're not really acting. But the crew chief, the principals, the drivers, those are the real people. Like if you don't follow the sport, like they have the real people there.
I like the little details of how this stuff is run, and how you have a team, a huge team, people with analytics, and I like all those little details. And you were sort of being taken through a sort of not necessarily education, but an awareness of what it takes for this to be to compete at that level.
Absolutely. I think for F1 fans, and I'm a fan of F1 now, this movie did two things that I think every F1 fan should say a thank you to Kosinski and Hamilton probably for making sure these were in the movie. And number one is, if you notice, this movie does not focus at all on winning a championship or beating the other drivers. It's entirely focused on the rivalry between the two of them. And that is actually in F1 the primary mission. And the reason is F1 allows you to develop your car all sorts of different ways. And a lot of times, a team that has the most money or has the best engineers will wind up with the best car. But when you race your teammate is the only other person on the grid who has exactly the same equipment that you do, which means if you beat your teammate in the same car, you are quicker than he is. And this movie fundamentally, when those two are like jockeying for last place, this movie touches on the heart of F1, which is like every driver will tell you, well, as long as I beat my teammate, I'm doing my job. The rest of it is everyone else getting the car to a level to where I'm going to finish first or third or seventh or whatever it is. So this movie understood that in a way that almost no other racing movie that's ever touched on F1 did. Yeah. And it makes the movie better because you're not trying to make Max Verstappen act. You're not trying to make the real drivers be actors because they're not. They're just out there, and you know that they're a presence, but that's not what the story's about. Yeah. So that was number one. Number two, as you said, is the behind the scenes, the amount of physical training these guys go through, how strong they are. Like, I mean, the shot of Idris doing the neck exercises is meant for the amount of torque they have to sustain to drive that car is unbelievable. And so to show him like making his neck like basically superhuman strong, every driver has to do that. And then they show like the simulator. They show the people working on the floor is a big thing that makes the car go faster or turn better. So showing you that was really important to understand, like, yes, it is a very technical sport, week to week, month to month, season to season. And drivers are at the mercy to a large extent of these people and how skilled they are at their individual job. So yes, I thought the work they show in the simulator, the work they show where Kerry Condon is like changing the floor to make the car turn better, like all of that is very true to how F1 is actually handled week to week. So those two things, the movie absolutely, I think, went on a mission to show you and did a great job of.
Definitely Bardem is a Swiss Army. You could put this guy in anything,
right? But that's the thing, like Javier Bardem, if he's the lead on your movie, is not always the great thing. This is what he's born to do. Javier Bardem in this movie, Javier Bardem in Dune, Javier Bardem in Skyfall. He is born to come into a movie like a force of nature for a few scenes and then disappear.
He's there to take pressure off the lead, and and to make the movie at least watchable. I think for some, he's definitely one of the most memorable parts of a movie.
In any movie. That's why I say he's like the Robert Horry, right? He's the guy on the championship team, but he makes big shots. Like he is always a factor. And he can do anything. Like the Skyfall entrance with that tracking shot where he did that in one take. That's an incredible, like, indelible moment in cinema history. I think he's hilarious in Dune. I think Dune is such a heavy movie. And he's just like hamming it up as this like religious fanatic. And it just cracks me up on screen. And I even see him in this movie where, first off, he looks great he looks the part of an former F1 driver, now turned billionaire owner, wearing those suits and the glasses. But then like when they do that one shot where Pitt does the trial lap and crashes around, but makes the time, and you see him just kind of like cheering in the background, and I'm like, this guy is so good at every little thing that he does, as long as it's not the whole movie. And that's what I think. He found his niche. He's like a leading man who's not a leading man.
Yeah. What would you give it out of 5?
So I can't give it a 5 because the story is flawed. The story is too flawed, I think, to get to a 5. I think I'm going to settle that it's a 4, but it's like a 4+. It's like.
That's exactly what my wife asked me. Because what do you give it? Because she never specifies whether it's out of 5 or out of 10. because the last time she asked me, I told her a movie was a 4 or 3.
Oh, she thought it was out of 10?
Yeah. So I said out of 4 or 5. She said out of 5. I said I'll give it a 4, yo. I think I enjoyed myself going. I knew what was happening. I knew what was eventually going to happen, but just the story and how it was told was just a good experience. So you forget about the Captain Obvious moments, right? You forget about it, but you just watch it for Brad Pitt's performance. He still got it. 61, man. To look like him, man, is crazy. And
he did, to his credit. If you guys have any interest in nerding out on the movie, find some interviews with Kosinski online where he talks about how they did this visually, because they filmed at actual F1 races, but obviously they didn't race the Apex cars in the races. So you're seeing the actual race footage, and then you're seeing the Apex filmed footage, and they're putting it together. But to Pitt's credit, he did drive the car, and like not in a race, but like on the track. So they said he pushed 190, 200 miles an hour in the car, which, as I said, physically, the amount of G-forces your body takes to do that is not small. So when I tell you that Tom Cruise had envy about this movie, I'm not kidding. Like, when you watch it, you have to see it through the lens of like, these are all the dudes who worked on Top Gun Maverick, except for Tom Cruise. It's been swapped out for, quite honestly, a guy who was better for this role. I think Pitt is better for this role than Cruise would have been, because Pitt exudes a humanity and a mortality that I think Cruise has not accepted yet in his real life. But I think he's jealous to the point where Kosinski was even talking about, if they did a sequel, and they are talking about a sequel, his dream would be for Tom Cruise's Cole Trickle to have known Brad Pitt's Sonny Hayes in their olden days, a Days of Thunder F1 crossover, which I do not need to see. But to the point that Tom Cruise has envy, that was Tom that made that call. Like, yo, for the second one.
Absolutely, yo. Absolutely. I could just see him watching it.
Yeah.
Like, damn,
he probably fired somebody. He probably fired somebody in his personal detail because of that.
Word up, yo.
But see this movie, and if you can and you have the time, go see it on a big screen, because this is a movie that, as we predicted, we both had it in our top 5 most anticipated for the year, or honorable mention. This is a movie that the big screen makes a difference. My seat was shaking during some of the racing scenes, from the engine and the soundtrack, which is great. Like, it is worth the ticket to go see this.
Yeah. It's definitely an entertaining movie. I certainly advise you guys to see that. Jurassic Rebirth?
Jurassic World Rebirth, yep.
I didn't have the chance to see it, but Brian did.
I did.
He is going to give you his review on it. I was over the weekend contemplating, man, should I go see this? I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And based on the reviews, I was like, nah, I'm not going to go there. But Brian saw it. That was good enough for me. So what do we have?
Well, first off, I was similar to you. I was looking at the schedule. I was looking at the stuff that I had to see. I knew that I was seeing Superman multiple times this coming week. And I was like, I'm not sure. And then there were 2 things that kind of tipped it over the edge. And you should be able to guess what one of them was. They came out and confirmed that a teaser for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey would be in front of it, that you could not get online. And then, ironically, my wife was kind of like, I'd be interested to go see it. I was like, all right, let's go check it out. So that kind of put me over the edge to go see it. So we went and saw it. We'll save the Odyssey discussion for our little trailer breakdown later. I find the reaction of this movie fascinating. It is not liked by critics, kind of middle of the road, 50-something%. Audiences are down on it. 70% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, B cinema score. To put that in perspective, Jurassic Park, the original, was an A. Jurassic World was an A, which is ludicrous to me, by the way, that those are the same. Fallen Kingdom was an A-, and then Dominion was an A-, and then this is a B. So this is basically telling you want to see IP fatigue? That's it. I'm dead serious. That's it right there, is people saying, I just don't care. There are people like you saying, like, do I need to go see this? And the people who went to see it said, like, yawn, basically. The film's underrated. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is the classic case of, had they not made Fallen Kingdom and Dominion in particular, and if we had been waiting 10 years between Jurassic World and this movie, I'm convinced all of those scores would be materially higher. Because this movie is much better made than Fallen Kingdom and Dominion for sure. And you can make a case it's better made than Jurassic World, although they're different style movies. It's kind of like a poor man's version of the original Jurassic Park. That's the best way I would describe it. They kind of go back to the jungle. The characters, and I do want to talk about Mahershala in particular, the characters are very formulaic, but they're right from the original movie for the most part, or things you've seen in other action movies. And the hits, like some of the set pieces, are very reminiscent. There's a few set pieces very reminiscent of the first one. There's a kitchen freezer scene that's somewhat similar to the raptor scene in the first one. There's one of the characters driving a Jeep that crashes and one of the dinosaurs kills him, just like Dennis Nedry was killed in the first one. So there's definitely a sense of, and I had it, I was like a sense of like, I've been here before, which I think hurts the movie. But Gareth Edwards is just a better director than the guys who are directing the last couple movies. Yeah. He just is. And so the CGI looks great. Spielberg said he asked for the movie to be a little more scary. And I would say Edwards did achieve that. Like, my wife jumped like 4 times during the movie. She was caught off guard by like the way they did the dino appearing or disappearing at different points for an attack. And there's a couple of set pieces that are original and really fun. Like, there's a set piece of a T-Rex on a river, which is really good. There's a water sequence with a mosasaur and the spinosaurs, which is really good. So there's definitely parts of this where you're like, this is a pretty good movie. I don't know why people hate this so much, but then you're like, I do know why they hate it so much, because they're tired of it. Yeah. They're like, you see, and to the point where this movie is in on that joke. And I didn't know what to make of that. There's literally a scrawl at the start of the movie where it says, public interest in dinosaurs has waned. And I'm like, that's exactly what's going on here. Like, why are you writing that in the title? Other than to be like, you guys are just as aware of this as we are?
Yeah, yeah.
To which I will spoil. I don't have to spoil it because it's in the trailer. And I told you this is why my kid was out. And that's why we went to see it without her, was because she said there's these weird looking hybrid dinosaurs. And she's like, those are not dinosaurs. I think the movie actually knows that, to the point of they put the hybrid dinosaurs in the final act of the movie, and it doesn't really work. It's the part I like the least. And I think it's the movie kind of saying, like, you guys don't appreciate the T-Rex enough. So we're going to show you what this looks like with a non-T-Rex that looks stupid and has all these crazy features and extra arms and all this stuff that makes no sense. And we're going to show you the scene, and afterwards you're going to be begging for the original T-Rex to come back and do more. I think the movie knew what it was doing. I weirdly do. I think it's kind of like meta commentary on, like, appreciate the greatness of some of the true dinosaurs. Don't take them for granted, because if you take them for granted, this is what it makes us do. It makes us create these ugly hybrids that nobody wants to see. And the third act kind of falls apart a bit for me, but
reminded me of Secret Invasion. What's that? The hybrid superhero?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you have to go see it. Like, I actually had a discussion with a friend the other day who was looking for a movie, had not seen F1, had not seen Jurassic. And I was like, F1, hands down. I'm like, just don't even think about this. Like, go to F1. Like, if you're not taking the kids, because he wasn't, go to F1, biggest screen possible. Just not a debate. So I don't feel like this is a must see at the theater, but it's not a bad movie. It's not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's probably, if you're rank ordering these, at worst, it's the third best movie in the Jurassic series. And you could make a case it's the second best.
But it could be the end. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. I don't know about that, though, because it's doing okay. It's on a lower...
It's doing okay in
global.
Outside. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is, Edwards, because we know this about Gareth Edwards, what's he really good at? Cutting your budget. So the rumor is the budget on this is like 180.
Okay.
So it's tight compared to the last two were like 250. So it only really has to do like 600 to be profitable, and it's already made over 300 the first weekend, so it's going to do it.
Yeah.
So I actually think you are going to get a sequel. But I got to talk about Ali, man. I have to.
Okay, how long was he in the movie for?
He's in the movie more than you think.
Okay.
But it was so funny because obviously he's basically a pal of ScarJo. And so you're looking at these two like would-be Marvel characters, right? These two Marvel characters, right? Basically, you're looking at it on screen, and he's way too bulked up and fit for the part that he's playing in this movie. I'm convinced he was in his Blade shape or pretty close to it because he's pretty ripped. Like he plays let's put it this way, he plays a military boat captain, but he's pretty jacked relative to how you've seen Mahershala Ali in the past. To where I'm like, you didn't just put this physique on.
You've been getting ready.
Part. You were keeping ready and thinking you might have to do something else. I think he's really charismatic. He's fun, you know. But I will say there was one scene in this movie that made me feel like if he does not get to do Blade, maybe we were okay with it. So there's a scene in the third act of the movie where he has to distract this hybrid dinosaur. Kind of like if you saw the original, Jeff Goldblum gets out of the truck, waves the torch, and runs away from the T-Rex, right? So they basically redo that scene with Mahershala. Man, he is so slow and unathletic running away from this dino that I was like, yo, you can't be that if you're going to be Blade. Man, there's a shot of him running up a staircase where I'm like, I know you're older than you look, but you ain't that old. It looked like a grandfather running up the stairs trying to get away from the dino. And like you're supposed to be a combat vet. Like you're supposed to be like a dude in this movie. And I was like, maybe you were just doing that for the part, but like I don't think so. Like, and it made me just wonder, we need Blade to be a ninja, man. We need Blade to be supremely gifted in fight choreography. And I saw this sequence and I was like, I don't know that this guy has it.
I mean, he's up there, man. How old is he again?
Now he's in his mid 50s, 53, 54.
51.
51. Okay. But you figure if they started on a Blade movie tomorrow, he probably would be 53 by the time it came out. And then if you're thinking he's got to do this for 10 years, he'd be 60. Like, I saw that and I was just like, some people have that agility and that quickness. And like, even if they're not trained martial artists, just have that spring in their step. And I was like, I don't see it. I don't think this guy has it. That sequence is 100% meant to make you think he's not making it out of this movie. And I almost texted you as the scene was going on. I said, damn, like 2 Oscars, only 1 dinosaur movie. But he doesn't. He does make it out of the movie. And then I read afterwards, in the first version of this movie, he doesn't. And they took it to the test screening, and the audiences revolted. And they redid it to save Ali.
Ali Boumaye.
So I think this is to me, this is, so I would put this at a 3. I don't think it's great. It's definitely not as bad as some people seem to make it out to be. You don't have to go to the theater to see it. Yeah, big screen dinosaurs never are bad. But I think if you're spending your money, F1, and if you're saving your money, you've got Superman and Fantastic Four. This one is the one you squeeze. And I think we knew that.
Anything else?
No, just that I continue to feel like I want to see Gareth Edwards armed with something better. He feels like a typecast director to me now. He feels like the director you get when you need to save money, but you need something to look really good. And every movie that I see him do, because he's done Godzilla, Rogue One, most of it, Creator, and now this, every one of those things has shots and visualizations and effects where I'm like, I don't know how this guy did this with the money that he had. And that includes this movie. You say like 180 is a big budget, but when you see the amount of dinosaurs and dinosaur effects and dinosaur action that looks really good, you're like, 180, man, it seems like a bargain for what this guy gave you. I keep waiting for like, can we get this guy like a real movie? Can we get this guy like a movie where it's like, hey, you got, and Rogue One was the closest, right? Because he had Gilroy writing for him. That was the closest. And look what that was, man. That movie did like $1 billion. Like, and it looks really good. Like, but give him like a non-IP movie with a great writer and just let him cook with the camera.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to see, I want to see that one time because I feel like he's getting stuck in these positions where it's like, yeah, he's doing a lot with less, but you're kind of not getting the best of what he could be as a filmmaker. I don't know.
Oh yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought of F1, and if you dared to go out and see Jurassic World Rebirth, and took that chance. Let us know what you guys think. Brian's saying it's not that bad of a film, but I just don't care about dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? I want to see Voltron and Robeasts and stuff like that. But
that is, by the way, I was thinking about Fantastic Four when I was seeing this movie and the reaction to it. Just because of what I said. There's that, it really felt like even though this movie looks different, has different cast members than the last couple, people were just like, more dinosaurs? Really? Like, it just feels like that's the attitude. Even though the movie, like I said, is making money, it is making less money, considerably less money than the last couple. It's not going to make $1 billion, probably. And I just had that in my head of like, should we worry about that with the Fantastic Four simply because we've had these other iterations and the last one was not that long ago, it was less than 10 years ago? Like, are people going to do the same thing and kind of be like, I don't care if it's 4 new actors, it's still Fantastic Four, and it's still Silver Surfer, and I've been here and I've done that, and it's not far enough in the rearview mirror that it feels fresh. It just sort of was thinking about that a little bit leaving the movie.
So yeah, hit that like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time on the Nerd Gen Report.